Welcome to the Connect with BMC Helix ITSM and Remedy webinar series. During today's webinar, you're able to ask questions of our panelists. The questions and answers, along with this webinar recording, will be published to our YouTube channel and communities a week from today's broadcast. Today's topic is Helix Integration Platform Technical Overview, and I will turn it over to Pradeep to start us on this content.
Thank you, Greg, and thanks everyone for being here. The agenda for today's session is I'm going to first take a little peek into BMC's Helix integration strategy. Then we're going to deeper dive into Helix Integration Platform, what it is, why we are announcing what we are announcing today. Then we're going to have Vishal, my partner here, my product management partner, who is going to demo a couple of pre-built use cases, the solutions that are available today. Then we're going to have Pradeep, Dondapati, take us through the platform and show us how to go about building an integration. So let's just jump into it. And I think to think about integration, especially in enterprise context, it's a tremendous challenge. As you know, technologies have been constantly evolving, and we have been continuing to adopt these next generation of technologies and sort of merging those things in our infrastructure inside our enterprise. And our challenge, for us who are responsible for delivering a service to our stakeholders, is about how do we keep these worlds talking to each other smoothly, seamlessly, right? So needless to say that obviously if you look at 20 years time frame, our infrastructure has gone more and more complex, more and more different sort of things and technologies have crept into it. Now, obviously, as this new set of technologies come along, there is always new set of ways of integrating with those technologies come about. So over the years, if you look at a rich product like ours, we have always provided tremendous set of integration solutions, right? So, if it is the database triggers, REST APIs, point-to-point specific integration solutions. But if you look at, file-based integrations, lot of different ways, email-based integrations. So that classic approach for integrations resulted in a way that we have to manage so many point-to-point integrations, and they are not reusable. They are poorly documented, and it's just not a great experience. The cost is just tremendous. The total cost of creating and maintaining these integrations is just tremendous, right? From there on, today in a largely SaaS world, right, software as a service world, if you think about it, there are these things called iPaaS platform. iPaaS stands for Integration Platform as a Service. That's the modern approach to integrations, wherein the platform comes pre-built with the components that help you integrate easily, right? And you have a sort of a console where you know what integrations do you have. You can monitor capabilities or things that are running right now versus you can schedule jobs. You have a much better context into it. The components are reusable. You can you know what components you have. So there is just tremendous benefits in this new world, specifically taking into account that a lot of your enterprise infrastructure is already migrating to the cloud, to the SaaS. So without having to take a lot of time, as we know that many of us are really familiar with the iPaaS as a solution, as an integration platform, I'm going to jump right next into what we're announcing today. BMC Helix integration strategy is all about having a solid, mature, robust integration platform at the core of it. And this integration platform um, is kind of the foundation for integrating with Helix. On top of this platform, we are providing pre-built integration solutions. What that means is we're taking a product approach to the integrations. What that means is we're working with our customers and identifying the common integration challenges, and we're investing into building those integrations in a easily configurable manner where which you can extend yourself, and we're delivering those to all of you. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that BMC product set, you are very easily able to integrate with BMC product set. By the way, for most common problems, you wouldn't even have to do a lot of effort. You can get those components from BMC. And finally, obviously, all we realize and recognize that most companies have their some things that are very unique to themselves. And those are the ones that you can build yourself, or we provide you the power of the platform in terms of the capabilities that you can just drag and drop and begin your integration. So this is kind of a summary for Helix integration strategy. It has been in the making for a number of years, but I think I'm so excited to announce that it's finally here. What I'm going to do as we go through this session, I'm going to specifically point out the different components in each of these tiers, right? What do we have available today at the platform level? What do we have available in terms of the pre-built integration solutions? So now let's get into a little deeper into the technical aspect of Helix Integration Platform. And to break that down, we're gonna look at a couple of ways, right? We're gonna look into what it is, and then what is out of the box. What are the out of the box connectors and templates that are available today? How do you design, deploy, and manage integrations? What is sort of the technical architecture? How does the things and parts communicate to each other? And what are some of the key differentiators um, for this solution? So in delivering BMC Helix integration platform, BMC is partnering up with a iPaaS platform vendor, a leader in iPaaS space, Jira Jira Corporation, and BMC is OEMing their world-leading Harmony platform and enriching that platform to support BMC specific use cases. So um, Jira has already been in this business, iPaaS and API management platform business for a number of years. They are one of the top Gartner MQ leader in this space. And what BMC is announcing that we're going to, we have taken their platform as is. We're partnering up with them. We're investing our own money and resources and developers in providing you artifacts like connectors and pre-built templates for BMC centric use cases. So Jira is innovating on the platform, adding content to the platform. BMC is innovating and adding content to the platform at a rapid pace. So overall, you have super rich, robust, mature platform with with greatest level of depth that's available in the industry today. Obviously, you with the connector based approach, you can hook up Helix to any other enterprise solutions that are out there, and I don't need to mention a few are listed here, But as we go through the slides, you will see all the different connectors we have, things like those. In here in this slide, I'm just pointing out um, the 2020 Gartner MQ rankings for Jitterbit. So if you look at in the B2B integration space, they're number one vendor. If you look at the MQ for enterprise integration platform as a service space, they're among the top 3 or top 4 vendors. So it's one of the most leading solution that we're partnering with, that you can count on enterprise grade performance, enterprise grade stability and reliability. And what we're doing is, hey, take this platform, which is already rich enough, but enhance it with providing more out of box connectors, enriching the marketplace, and certifying these integrations with BMC product portfolio. So now let's look at what are some of the connectors that are available today. Um, as you know, when you have a dedicated application specific connector, that is the easiest way to build an integration around, because it knows how to talk to that application. It has those activities built into it. So um, so the richer, the more the number of connectors you have, the better off you are. You can easily drag and drop things and put the two connectors together, and you have an integration solution ready with you. So these are the set of connectors. Obviously, there are plenty here, and we're adding, as I stated, Jitterbit is adding to it every month. BMC is adding to it every month, and you can go through our documentation site. What are the ones that are available from BMC? Um, and obviously, Jitterbit has a focus on the enterprise integration space, so they are building connectors for CRM applications of the world, supply chain applications of the world, ERP, everything else, and IT. And BMC is exclusively focused on the IT domain, right? That's who we are. We're working with our customers, identifying the core set of integration use cases and try to build it out those on the platform. In addition to the dedicated application specific connectors, the platform provides you generic technology based connectors. So, for example, HTTP connector, SOAP connector, the FTP connector, they're file based connectors, DB connectors. So they allow you to start your integration on day one. So for most simplistic, or let's say standard integrations, if you're talking to an standard application, you probably would not need a dedicated connector. So many of these other platforms require you to have a dedicated connectors to be able to even do a basic simplest integration. But here you have generic connectors that let you begin your integration on day one. For the most part, we don't expect you be writing your own connectors, a lot of those, even though the platform has tremendous capabilities to write your own connectors. I'm now going to go through a few examples of pre-built integration templates that are available in the platform that we in BMC has developed. My team of developers is constantly churning out. We have a monthly schedule where we are constantly adding to the list. And my intent here is just to give you a couple of glimpses of things we have built and are available today. And these templates are simply, you can just download and configure, point to your. So for example, this is a template for creating a Jira issue from a digital workplace request. So if you download this template and configure to point to your Jira instance, make sure you do the configuration in digital workplace to call this, and then you will be very easily able to just start to to have this integration going in 30 minutes. If you want to use the template, it's 30 minutes or less, as long as you have the configuration done. So that's the approach BMC is taking. I'm extremely proud of it. So I'm going to go through a couple of these examples. This is one, and the way we have built the template, is addressing certain functionality. For example, it shows you the link for the Jira issue on digital workplace, and it allows you to share a comment. Similarly, there is a template for publishing an incident to Slack, right? Many companies have this kind of a use case where you may have a tiger team monitoring certain critical incidents. So then if you want to publish that to your social channels, in this case Slack, you can do that. Again, this is an output from that template that's shown here. And obviously you have complete control on the template in terms of what attributes do you want to be displayed on the channel. Next up, another example of a template is how do I create automate this creation of mail list from a request in digital workplace. So it supports right now creation of a mail list and adding users from the mail list. Another example is SCCM, right? Microsoft SCCM. I think they have renamed this product. I think it's called Endpoint Configuration Manager. This is a standard use case where your agents may want to retrieve details of your asset from SCCM, and you may want to integrate that with the ITSM. So we have shipped a template like that. Moving forward, you have a template for syncing people record between Salesforce and Helix or ITSM. Many of you have a master copy of your human resources or people record in a system, and then you kind of sync it up as you add new people. You kind of keep it sync up across systems, and this template sort of lets you do that. The pre-built template is available for you to do that. And again, from my point of view, we have not covered all the templates that we have already shipped. I just gave you a couple of examples. There are plenty more available today, and we're adding every month. So I will highly recommend you to go to our documentation site and see what's available. By the way, if you have a template, you can easily copy it, change it, and tweak it to meet your business need or to make it fit to your use case. Next up, I'm going into a little more into the platform, what exactly is in the platform, and how do you go about building sort of an integration. What are the components? That's what part I'm going to cover, and then get into the architecture. Design time, deployment time, and manage time. A holistic solution to get you through the entire life cycle of managing integrations. From a connectivity perspective, it's simple. You have a set of generic connectors in addition to application specific connectors. You specify your credentials in a point and click, and you can just test right in there. So it's that simple. I'm going to just browse through some of these components a little bit quickly, just to give you a flavor of what's out there. The intent is not to go into really each one of these items in greatest depth here, but we want to give you a perspective into the set of capabilities that are available. As I said, you have generic connectors, you have application specific connectors, but if that's not enough and you do really have to build a connector from scratch, then the platform comes with a connector builder that has multiple ways. There is a completely visual driven way, and then there is a script based. Both of those means are available. There's a connector SDK available for you. A lot of libraries are available for developers, and you have tremendous sort of capabilities that can have you build, with a couple of quick point and click to and most advanced connector that you may have to build. And the solution actually is able to support all of those use cases easily. Workflows, this is how you go about, basically sequencing things. I mean, you have a source and you have a target, you have some transformation in between. And so I wanted to give a flavor of what do you do, what are these are the workflows. You can see, on the left hand side, this is how you can organize. So within a workflow, you have set of operations, so logical, functionally distinct activities. You can keep them grouped, and then you can reuse them for future, and then you can run things, operations and connectors, scripts. That's basically, those are the sort of components in here that are available in the platform. Going further here, in terms of the operations, you can define these operations to run either at schedule, predefined schedule, or upon an action, or based on certain options that you can specify in the tool. So it offers tremendous flexibility in that sense here. Moving forward, there's a concept called project variable, and then so you can set it before runtime of an operation. So right, this is kind of the way to control and have dynamicity in your workflows. If you want to have data come in from a source, and you want to go through the workflow, and you can define a variable similar to the programming part of life. But I think just because this sort of capability exists, you can design any sort of comprehensive breadth of integrations that you may want to. Mapping is an important part for integrations. As you know, you are mapping between source and target, and you are processing your data in many different ways. But and the platform provides you a simple UI based mapping UI element. There you can have source and target. You can drag and drop things. You can default. You can do sort of conditional mapping. Tremendous set of capabilities there. Again, conditional mapping here exists in the platform, including logic, script-based. That all is possible. Error handling, and I think this is a critical piece of it. If you have to capture an error, if you were expecting a certain outcome and that doesn't happen, and you want to do certain other action on that basis, you can do that. So on failure as well as on successful execution of that operation. So you can, in the window itself, you can specify what you want to happen. You want an email notification every time this fails. You just have to specify an email address here, and the platform automatically takes care of it. Flat file, again, in many of these integration use cases, if you think about it, you're dealing with tremendous set of data, right? And many times you may have to use a flat file approach, or sometimes you deal with the applications which are like last generation applications which do not communicate through XML and stuff. Then you have these flat file options available to you. Different kinds of flat file, hierarchical, simple file. You can upload it, define your data, sort of your data structure, and it can read through a sample file. So it's really powerful to be able to work with integrations with flat file based use cases. Again, hierarchical schema, that's possible in terms of the flat file. You can do that, and XML, that's possible. And then sample file schema, you can just choose from, take a file, upload it, and through that generated schema. So for the next time you want to have data coming in, you can compare against and things like those. Testing of transformation is available through the UI. It's very simple visual-based approach to do that. And it can, it's such a nice tool, capability to have you here on the UI. It's that the transformation is going to work, and you get an element right there on the feedback on the UI itself that yes, that worked, and that's going to work when I'm actually going to turn it on. Yeah. Component reuse. This is where the power and the real differentiation, in my view, comes in. That you can break your integration use case solution into many components, but each one of those components is reusable, right? So um, you could take each one of these, name them properly. Then next time you have the need for that, you can just drag and drop from one, or copy over, or duplicate from one to the other, and it's that easy. So that was all about the design time. I meant to touch upon many of those things just to give you a view into the level of depth in terms of those capabilities. Now I'm going to focus on the deployment piece, like the runtime piece. There are, what's critical, what's important for runtime, right? So, how do you deploy your project? But then at the same time, you need logging, right? You want to make sure that you have enough sort of logging turned on so you can debug if in case you need to. And then the concept about API manager, right? So um, as you know, Gartner has two separate categories. iPaaS, enterprise iPaaS is one category, and API management is another capability. And those Helix Integration Platform is a leader in both of those categories. And API management is about, when you build a workflow in the integration platform, you should be able to expose it as an API that you can call from any number of sources. And that capability is pre-built here. Any point in time, once you have an operation, you have an activity, you can right click on it, say publish as an API, and that is all available to you. And not only that, you have API manager, portal manager, API logs, API analytics. All of those capabilities are available in the deployment side of the house. Um, Again, for a project deployment, you have deploy and run through the UI. It's simple. Point and click. You can get to and deploy a project. Logs, again, tremendous enterprise grade capability to turn logging at the levels that you may want to turn it on, so it doesn't become a burden on your transactions, but at the same time you can get to whatever level of data that you may want to write from an audit or transaction and logging perspective. API manager, again, I talked about this a little bit. This is key capabilities that makes these iPaaS platform, that improves the reusability of these iPaaS platform, right? So you have portal manager, API logs, analytics, my APIs. How many have you exposed, and how many, where are you calling from? Obviously, there's a standard API token that you can use. This the one of the templates that I spoke to you about before, creating a Jira issue from a digital workplace request. We're using that API management approach. We're publishing this creation of a Jira issue, that workflow as an API, and then we're calling that from digital workplace using REST connector in digital workplace. Again, you have an UI to know what APIs you have deployed, what are out there, what developers are building, what are active. Yeah, the portal allows you to generate Open API 2.0 documentation. So once you have, this is really the simplest way of getting your documentation for your APIs, and so right. Think about your developer persona as they log into the platform. They build these workflows. You as an admin have complete view into it. What are they building? And then if you want to build any, you want a documentation from the system can generate quick and easy documentation in Open API 2.0 format. Um, Logs, I talked about logs. Obviously, logs are important as you're building complex workflows. You need to know, so you have complete control over turning on and off through multiple levels. So that's all part of the platform. Analytics is important in terms of you know which of these integrations are being used, the transactions are flowing, number of hits per day, response time. All of those analytics around the APIs are available in the platform. Um, Moving on, security profiles, that's very important, critical. You want to limit, for example, um, from an authentication perspective, basic OAuth2, and on the other side, if you have trusted IP ranges, you want to limit, and then you can do that. So it's a tremendous set of secure iPaaS platform we're talking about. So, so that was about the deployment time, right? The runtime that I covered. Now let's focus a little more about the monitor, right? The third element of of integration lifecycle. So you need to know really what organizations, which are like dev, test, prod, which are your users, developers, admins, what access do they have, how do you want to notify people, and how do you manage your environments. So obviously you can have multiple organizations and have different policies and allow and enforce those policies, right? From password expiry to anything that's kind of at a high level is required. Two-factor authentication, SSO, many of these features are available at the org level. um, right. And then yeah, so again, Cloud Studio is the main designer where you design your workflows, and then you can quickly and easily sort of from your organizations do apply the policies, organizational policies that you may want to apply to one or more organizations. Members, again, adding developers, admins, persona, what roles they have, what can they do, standard application stuff. Yeah. And then, right, as you set up environments, right, dev, test, QA, prod, you can set role access by environment, right? So obviously we know this is I guess enterprise IT 101, right? It's all about production. How do we secure production? How do we allow developers and QAs to be able to be productive in their own environment and promote only when it's needed, when it's proven, when it's ready to be deployed. So again, there is a concept of role, define a role, then grant the role to the users, very standard stuff in the platform. Notifications, this is critical that this allows you to have a view into the platform, right? To monitor it so that you don't have to go into the platform to see what things are running. Rather, it's all about you're getting the notifications whichever means you want the notifications to come to you on certain situations when an agent is down, password expire, or things like those. So you have complete control over what notifications do you want to see, who do you want to send to. So that was a view into the core components of Helix Integration Platform. We saw the design time artifacts, Cloud Studio, then we saw deployment time options, right? The schedule or event based. And then we saw the monitoring aspect, logging. So obviously, we got a little bit of view into what exactly are the components that make up the Helix Integration Platform. Next up, what I want to do here really quickly is talk about the architecture. And again, it is about giving you a preview here as we go along. Hopefully, we can do further deep dive sessions for you to get a view into it. You can also visit our documentation page to get more information, more detailed information on the platform architecture. Here, what I want to focus on is the data flow. I think that's very critical, right? So first off, the integration platform, it lets you integrate with applications on-prem, applications in the cloud. So, or on-prem to on-prem, or cloud to cloud. All of those use cases are supported. And my intent here is that, hey, what is the data flow, right? So you think of this, look at the right side of the screen, and the red vertical bar is your firewall, let's say your own network. And to be able to integrate with your on-prem applications, you have something called a private agent. That's something that you install, you get in your environment, and that is your primary source of communication to the cloud, this iPaaS platform outside. And all your integration communication is facilitated through that private agent, right? So when you're talking to cloud application, there is a direct communication between a Helix integration platform and a cloud application without the need for a private agent. But private agent on the on-prem side of the house lets you control access, lets you enable communication between on-prem and cloud. Also, your on-prem to on-prem communication is the data flow is between these on-prem components. So let's look into that a little bit more. So suppose there's a developer which builds a workflow using the Cloud Studio in the Helix Integration Platform UI. And then you push that workflow, then that's when the whole workflow gets published on the private agent. At a runtime, the private agent is the one that initiates the contact from private agent to Helix Integration Platform. And then your communication is basically between in this case of cloud to on-prem through the private agent. And the key point here I want to make is that your data for on-prem to on-prem application use case does not leave your network, it stays within your firewall. At this point, I covered the core I did an introduction for such a huge platform in last 45 minutes. And I want to now hand it over to my colleague, Vishal, for a couple of demos of the use cases. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pradeep, for that wonderful explanation around Helix Integration Platform. Hello, everybody. My name is Vishal Bagh. I am a product manager for Helix Integration Platform, and I will take you through a few demonstrations of some of our out-of-the-box templates for different integrations. The first demo that I'll take you through is creating a Jira issue from BMC Helix digital workplace request. So let's take a look at the interface and see how this integration actually works. So here is the DWP interface, and let's try and create an enhancement request from here and see how it takes us. So here we're creating an enhancement request, and we will add the required values for that particular request. So we're requesting a service request here, which through which we are asking for an enhancement, and we are adding the values for different fields here. Once we submit this request, it will automatically create a Jira ticket, and you can access that Jira ticket from within the DWP request that you have created. So just submit this and see what happens. And your request is submitted, and let's go back and try and access this request that we had created. Now here we should be able to see the details about the request, and on the comment section you can see the link to the Jira ticket that gets created. Now this is a hyperlink, and you can launch the Jira ticket from within this service request. There you go. Now in this request, on this ticket that is created in Jira now, you can add a comment, and that comment will travel back to the service request that you had added in the DWP request that you created. Now let's take a look at that. So we'll save it here and we go back, and there you go. You can see the comment from your Jira has come back to the service request that you created in DWP. Now this is the front end part of it. Here is how this integration is set up on the Jitterbit side. So this is the interface for Helix Integration Platform, and here you can see on the left side the different steps that are involved in the integration, and there is this logical flow of different steps that are involved. On the right side you can see various connectors that are available, and you can choose based on the requirement that you have. So here we can dig deeper into the integration that has been created. Take a note of different steps that are involved in establishing this particular integration. It's basically the logical flow of the steps that will be involved in achieving this. You can see the details when you are syncing the Jira issue to DWP. What are the logical flows there? What is the logical flow there? And various connectors that are involved. So you can see you have different Jira endpoints here. So you can now also look at the comment part of it, how the comment is published and what are different steps involved in there. And that's how this particular integration is set up. Let's take a look and at the next demonstration. This is publishing an ITSM incident and Worknote to Slack. So in this integration, you can basically integrate Helix ITSM to Slack, and you can create Slack posts for every incident that is created in ITSM. You can also create a post in Slack every time you make an update to that incident in ITSM. And if you add a public Worknote in ITSM, you can see a Slack post for the same. Now let's look at it while how it works and what is the way this integration looks for a customer. Here is the ITSM and we are trying to create a new ticket here. So user is just an agent has just created a ticket and it's entering all the field values that are required here. Let's save the ticket. So this is a ticket that has been created. What it will do is it will post a Slack post that has to a predefined channel that will have all the details about this particular ticket. Now in this you can see how details are there on Slack side. Now let's try and edit the ticket and see how that behaves. So here now we are trying to make changes to the ticket. The user has saved it, and you can see there's a new post on Slack channel which picks up all the changes that were made. And now let's add a Worknote and see how the Worknote gets posted. Now this Worknote must be public, and this public Worknote will then be added to the as it will be posted as a ticket as a post on Slack. There you go. You can see the details here, how this particular ticket creates a post on Slack, and you can see the details of that comment that were added. Now this is the front end again. Now let's take a look at the back end of it. Here you can see different parts that are involved in this integration, different steps. Again, same, this is the logical flow of steps that will create this ticket for you. and then there's how you post messages, the second part of it. Let's take a look at the project variables also. These are some of the variables that will vary from customer to customer, and you will just have to provide the user credentials for Jira, Slack, and ITSM, and you are sorted. Once this is done, you can enable this integration, and you are set up with this. So this is the detail of the integration that we have.
Now let's take a look at the third demonstration for today, which is synchronizing ServiceNow incidents to BMC Helix ITSM. Through this template, we can create Helix ITSM incidents from ServiceNow incidents. We can also update the same incident from a ServiceNow incident. Let's take a look at the front end. So here we're trying to create a new incident in ServiceNow. So we will see this incident posted in ITSM once it is submitted from ServiceNow. So we're filling all the required fields here to make sure that we get a valid ticket. So high priority, high impact issue that is being created. We are adding Worknotes to it. And now we submit. As soon as the ticket is submitted, the integration on the backend will come into play, and you will see an incident. This is the incident ID that we can find on the ITSM side. Now let's go to ITSM and search for this incident. There we go. Here is the incident that was created on the ServiceNow, and now we can see the same in ITSM. Let's take a look at the incident for the details. There you go. And you can see that this new incident is there. You can see a signee, other details around it, and the description and incident type. All the details basically that were added on the ServiceNow side now can be seen on this ticket. Now we can also make changes. This is the second use case of that particular template, where we can make changes on the ServiceNow side, and these updates to the ServiceNow ticket will be reflected on the ITSM side. So here we are closing the ticket, adding Worknotes, and update it. Now you can see this has been resolved. Let's look at the same on the ITSM side. There you go. You refresh it, and you can see that ticket has been created, and you can see the details. Now here is the backend of this particular integration that you have. On the left, you can see the logical steps that are followed to achieve this integration. How the data in the query is made to ServiceNow, and so on and so forth. And here is the enable integration part, where you can see the again logical flow of steps that result into this integration. So here is the ITSM connector that we have. You can check the endpoints that are required to enter for the user. And similarly, we may take a look at the ServiceNow connector as well. And here are the credential details, or the details that you need to input from the ServiceNow point of view. So that's all from the demonstration perspective. I hope it was helpful. Let's go back to Pradeep, who will take us through the rest of the session. Thank you.
Hello everyone. This is Pradeep Dondapati from Helix Integration Platform R&D team. I would like to introduce how to create an integration template on Helix Integration Platform. When using Jira Harmony platform, there are primarily 3 steps to deliver integration: design, deploy, and manage. Jira Harmony portal provides Cloud Studio for designing your integrations, agents like cloud agents or private agents for deploying, and management console for monitoring and managing your integration. Cloud Studio is a project design application on Gigabit Harmony that allows multiple team members to collaborate on integration projects simultaneously. An integration template is often being referred as a project in Cloud Studio. Let's go ahead and create a new project in Cloud Studio by clicking on New Project button. For creating a new project, we need to enter the mandatory fields, project name, environment, and let's give some proper description for the project. Let's go ahead and start design. This takes us to the project design page where we have project pane, design canvas, and component palette. Design canvas is the central part of the project designer, serving as the primary workspace to visually design your integrations. The design canvas will have the workflows which can be accessed from the top of the tabs, and each workflow will have the operations. A new workflow can be created using the plus icon on the top. Next, we have the component palette on the right side of the design canvas. The palette provides access to project components such as connectors and endpoints and its activities. As we scroll through this, we can see all the available connectors. A connector allows you to enter specific connection details such as credentials or connection URLs. This creates an authenticated connection as an endpoint. Let's go ahead and create an endpoint for a connector. Upon entering the fields for the connection such as host, port, username, and password, for this connector, we will be creating an endpoint connection. Let's go ahead and save this. Now you can see an endpoint is being created and it shows all its available activities. Now you can drag and drop the activities of an endpoint and create the integrations. Let's go ahead and create an integration with this activity. Now we'll go ahead and configure this activity. And we'll pass the data through a transformation. Let's go ahead and create a transformation and add the values. With this, a simple operation is completed. Next, we have the project pane where you can view all the workflows, operations, components, and project settings. In components, we can view all the available endpoints that are created in this project, and we can, in case of a template, you may also want to add an API to access your operations via HTTP protocol. Let's check out. From the API Manager's My APIs, we can view the existing APIs and also we can create a new API. Let's check how we can create a new API and access our operation. On this page, we enter the API name, environment, and other mandatory information and proceed to the next step. On the second page, we provide the operations and project information which we want to execute. On the page 3, we define the roles and security profiles for the API. And this is our summary of the API, which is having the name, operations that it needs to execute, and the roles and security profile. Let's go ahead and save this. Now, the next step is to deploy our integration project. We can deploy our integration project by clicking on the deploy button. This will deploy our integration to the configured agent. Once deployed, we can run the operations by clicking on the operation and run, or we can also configure it to schedule. Let's go ahead and save our schedule. Our last step in delivering the integration is manage. Jira Harmony provides management console to monitor and manage our integrations. Here we can see the operation runs as well as the activities that are happening in our agents. That's our high-level overview of Cloud Studio for building automated integrations. Now, let us take an example and look into the process of creating an integration template. For this, let us take an use case for syncing the events from BMC Helix Operations Manager to Splunk. In this use case, whenever there is an event that is being created or updated on BMC Helix Operations Manager, we create or update alerts on Splunk. Also, we update the event on Helix Operations Manager with the alert info that is being created on Splunk. Before jumping on to creating the integration template, let us first gather all our requirements. In this use case, our source application is BMC Helix Operations Manager, and our target application is Splunk. And let us look into the prerequisites that are required for creating this integration. For subscribing to the events created or updated on Helix Operations Manager, we need a webhook support on Helix Operations Manager application. If webhook is not being supported on our source application, then we need to poll for recently created events on our source application. As per the API documentation on Helix Operations Manager, webhook is being supported. Now, let's move on to our next requirement. We need a Splunk connector on Jira for creating or updating the alert. Here, create and update are the activities that are required in our connector. Also, we need a HOM connector to read or update the events. Here, read and update are the activities required in our HOM connector. Let us go ahead and check if these connectors are available on Jira. As we can see on the component palette, we have a BMC Helix Operations Manager connector, and it also has 3 activities: get, create, and search events. Let us check if we have the Splunk connector. As you can see, we also have a Splunk connector and it has multiple activities. Let's check our requirements. So we need a create and update alert on Splunk connector. As we can see, we have create alert and update alert activities available in our connector. Also, let us check for Helix Operations Manager. For Helix Operations Manager, as per our requirements, we need read and update events. As we can see, we have the get event activity available, but there is no activity available for updating the event. In such cases, we may want to update the existing connector to support new activities, or we can use HTTP connector for achieving this implementation. As we can see in the HTTP connector, it supports get, put, post and delete activities. Now we have gathered all the required information for creating this integration template. Let's jump on to the steps required for creating this integration template. For creating an integration template, first of all, we need to create a Jitterbit API for posting the events from webhook. When an event is created or updated, a webhook will be triggered, and this webhook will post the event data to the Jitterbit API that is created on step 1. And we create the webhook with the API that is being created on step 1. The next step is to read the event data from the payload that is coming on the Jitterbit API. And the next step is to process the event payload and creating the alert on Splunk. Once the alert is created on Splunk, we update the event data on HOM with the alert information. Due to the time constraint, we have already built an integration template for this use case. Let's go ahead and import this integration template into our environment. For importing, let us click on the import button. Let us browse the project JSON into our environment. Here, let us select our environment to import this integration template. On importing it, it creates the project in our environment, and we can see all the workflows in this integration template. On the right side of the design canvas, in our component palette, we can see the endpoints are added. The endpoints in this template are configured using project variables. As we can see, the credentials and the host information in this endpoint is using the project variables. We can go ahead and update the project variables for our requirements. We can select the project variables from the environment and update our host and user information for our applications. In this case, we have already updated Splunk URL, username, password, as well as we have also updated the HOM server URL, username and password. Now let us go to our integration steps. In our integration steps, our first step is to create a Jitterbit API. The enable integration workflow will enable us to set up the basic requirements for our integration, in which we create the Jitterbit API. Also, we create a webhook for subscribing to the events. In this workflow, as we can see, our script is calling a Jitterbit API to create the Jitterbit API. First, in the first step, it will log into the BMC Helix Integration Platform, and we check if the API is already exists. If it is already exists, we are going to delete the API and create the new custom API. And this process, we also create the security profiles for the Jitterbit API. And in our next step, once the API is created, we create a webhook and provide the Jitterbit API URL for publishing the event information. This is our webhook workflow. In this workflow, we make an API call to Helix Operations Manager application to create webhook. And our next step is the final step to create our integration. In this workflow, we read the payload information from Jitterbit API and we fetch the event data from the event ID that is being provided from the payload, and we create alert with the event information. Once the event is created, we update the Helix Operations Management event with the alert name. Also, if the event is update event, we update the alert. And for the failure scenarios, we send the failure notification. This also can be configured in our project variables. Once all the required changes are done, we can go ahead and deploy this integration project into our agent. On clicking on the deploy button, it will deploy our integration project into our agent. Once it is deployed, we click on enable integration and run enable integration for creating the Jitterbit API and webhook for continuously calling the integrations. Upon successful completion of the enable integrations, we can go ahead and validate our use cases. We can see that the enable integration is success. Now, let us execute our use case. For creating the events on Helix Operations Manager, let us execute the API to create events. Let's go to Postman and create the events. This has created an event, and let us go and verify our Helix Operations Manager application. As we can see, there is a new event that is being generated on Helix Operations Manager just now. Now, let us verify if an alert is being created for this event or not. Let us go to our Splunk application and see. Let us refresh. We can see that an alert is being generated on Splunk application. Let's view the details. Here, in the alert description, you can see the HOM event details and the status and other information. Let us also confirm this from our Jitterbit. Let's go to Jitterbit API Manager logs. Here we can see there is an API request that is being made to HOM to Splunk template, and the status code is 200, which means that it has successfully executed our template. We can also view the logs from the operations by clicking on View Logs. Here we can see the activity is being completed successfully with information. We can also view and export. We can also export this integration project and use it in other environments or organizations. We can click on the menu and export the project, and we can also select if we want to include our credentials, the project variables, and the schedules. This will create us a JSON file that can be imported in any of the other projects or environments. With this, I conclude my part of creating an integration template on Helix Integration Platform and hand it over to Pradeep Kumar for summarizing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pradeep, for a wonderful demonstration of Helix Integration Platform. I'd like to quickly mention a couple of references. I think product documentation page, BMC Helix Integration Platform product documentation place is the #1 place that you should go to. You will have a list of all connectors and all pre-built integration templates that BMC has shipped. You can also look at bmc.com for additional information. I'd like to now quickly summarize a couple of the key points. #1, BMC has partnered with the Gartner MQ leader in iPaaS platforms and API management capability. It is a robust platform. It's enterprise grade, it's best in class. And with BMC's investment, we're adding content for our own domain, right? So that makes it unique like no one else. Lots of endpoints are available and growing. BMC is adding endpoints, Jira is adding endpoints, and the generic connectors in the tool allow you to build an integration on day one. You don't have to really need a dedicated connector for it. As you know, with this approach, these artifacts you build are reusable, extendable. It's a holistic integration management platform, if I would say that. Design time, runtime, monitoring, you have complete control over it. You can monitor or control access for who can design workflows. While deploying, you can choose event-based, schedule-based, action-based deployment, and monitoring. You can which ones, how many transactions are flowing through. If you want to pause them for an upgrade and things like that, you can very quickly do that. Final and the most important point I like to take it home with is it's a Gartner MQ leader iPaaS platform, and BMC is enriching that with our own exclusive investment of pre-built integrations and connectors. So it's a holistic solution, much better than anything else that's out there in the industry for building integrations for our domain. Quickly covering this another way, as I talked about the platform, Helix Integration Platform, you know that the platform, Jira is building connectors, BMC is adding connectors to it. On top of that, BMC is providing pre-built integration solutions for common use cases. So our approach is we're working with thousands of customers to figure out the common integration use cases, and we're then publishing at pre-built integration templates for different products, right, combined as one of the ways. And then the second one is right. So summarizing this a little bit in another form, the Helix Integration Platform of course provides a lot of generic connectors. BMC is adding connectors to it. Jira is adding connectors to it. It's a rich platform. You can build any integrations with the versatility of the platform very quickly. On top of the platform, we are investing in providing pre-built solutions from BMC. So we're packaging things in a couple of different ways. For ITSM centric integrations, we have BMC Helix multi-cloud service management, which is a rich value-added way of providing some of these use cases that closely interact with ITSM records. So you've seen some of those before from us. We're also announcing pre-built solutions for other BMC products, digital workplace, business workflows, Helix operations management. With that, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's webinar, and I'd like to hand it over to Greg now for the next part of the presentation.
Thank you. And now I'll take us through the self-help in contacting BMC. The YouTube channel where this webinar will be posted is listed here. It contains past webinars as well as a rich set of how-to videos. The Connect with BMC Helix ITSM and Remedy webinar schedule is available at this community's link, and the hot off the press newsletter for trending information is available at this community's post. As always, contacting technical support via web, phone, email, and these social channels is available. At this time, that will conclude this webinar. Thank you for attending.